Yukduk, it's great to see you again in EU, I have to say, and congratulations on how Worlds has been going so far. It was a bit of a mixed bag, I guess, but you're in the 1-on-1 pool, so you have a lot of matches ahead of you, possibly. And I want to ask, from your coach's perspective, what do you feel like are the things that went well and that didn't go as well in those 2 games?
Yeah, so against DK, we got a little too excited, I think, on stage, and I also think they're a bit of a tougher opponent to like draft against. They have more depth, so they like, you know, picked Sylas later on as not something we're used to, and like Showmaker, he has like an X factor with Sylas in a good game. But I still thought we had like a pretty good situation early on, but we kind of just, I don't know, we kind of just dropped the ball. There was too much happening and we couldn't really keep up, so they were just better, yeah.
Okay, Bwipo was commenting that he thought in-game he didn't think the synergy was completely on point, or the communication. Is that in line with what you think as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold for me. I think we made some mistakes. We could have helped each other more in the game and like communicated more clearly. So either way could have probably fixed our problems if we were a bit more aware or if we communicated a bit more together, yeah.
Okay, talk to me about this matchup versus PSG, which is, you know, obviously a revenge matchup, one thing that you absolutely want to win for that side of things, but PSG really has been ramping up. They look different than they did in the play-ins. Can you talk to me about this matchup and how are you going to make sure that it goes different than the last time?
Yeah, so it's obviously a super important match for us because we got a kind of a good draw in the PSG, and if we want to make it out, we should really win this game. From where we stand, like, they're pretty good. They're a pretty standard team, and yeah, we obviously lost to them at MSI, but we're also a lot stronger now. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit nervous about the match. This is like super important game. And you know, we have some like strategies we're going to use, and yeah, just hoping it's going to work. So yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Yukduk has a plan. Great also to hear him back in Europe.
True.
And I love that he says that it's a good draw versus PSG, because looking at the graphic that we have just here,
it's a tight one.
The West has something to settle against PSG.
It may say 7-7, but it, like, even if you're saying round 1, this is the round that kicked us out. So like, this one's a little bit sadder.
Yeah.
And then of course this one's more recent, so this one burns more. We can probably cover for this one.
True, and they knocked Mad down in the bracket, but to me, like, there's one clear memory that needs to be different for FlyQuest in this PSG game, and it happened a little bit yesterday as well against a different team. I want to pull this up right now, and it's when Bwipo and Inspired get a little too carried away trying to make their own play. So this was an MSI memory. This was the second game as they're getting eliminated. Bwipo Inspired on Renekton Viego just lose their minds chasing this Rumble for like 15 seconds. It leads to a Maple double kill, and then Maple ended up being a little bit too fed on the Asol. And then in terms of over-forcing, this was their game against DK when Showmaker got fed on the Sylas. They just, again, really hard forced this dive onto Sylas. He makes them dizzy, and this guy, this is not necessarily to flame Bwipo, he always goes for it, right? But when he's able to play with the right amount of patience, and as he talked about when they won the LCS championship, be confident that like he's enough, that just playing normally is enough, that's when I think they're at their best.
Exactly. We've seen it in the LCS. When they're on the same page, they are the best team fighting team when they can make it happen. So they're going to go up against PSG. This is the revenge tour. Way back from MSI, they want to get it done.
And they're going to have a lot of things to prove, and they want to go and get that revenge against PSG here. Let's see what FlyQuest can do. Housecasters, back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Lore. I feel big stakes not just for FlyQuest, but I guess for all of the West, given that it's 7-7, as was so wonderfully highlighted.
So
PSG
West
are
ain't
scary.
doing too hot right now.
PSG are scary. Yeah, it's like LCK, LPL, and then PSG, LEC, and LCS. PCS as a whole maybe needs a bit more time, but this PSG lineup can never be underestimated. Something, obviously, the FlyQuest are very keenly aware of. And we'll have to see what their strategy is, what their approach is. PSG notoriously more by-the-book meta team. FlyQuest a team that's not afraid to flex some of their champ pools to try and find an advantage.
The crucial thing is, as Nuke Duck mentioned in the interview, is that FlyQuest is a different team to what they were at MSI, and the introduction of Quad has significantly change the approach of the team, the flexibility that they have in the mid lane as well. And ultimately, the draft will always begin with a single question. Are you going to ban Leona, PSG? Because we know you play it.
I lived in a brief existence in that previous game. It was 30 minutes of bliss as that champion disappeared.
And it's crazy because, as we said, we love watching the champ, right? Super entertaining champion to watch.
It just kind of invalidates the laning phase sometimes when it's always able to come
To a
back.
degree. But anyway, we're going to be jumping into the draft. So, what will the priorities be? So far on the red side, we've seen Aurora be a consistent ban. Wouldn't be surprised to see Azhi get that Rumble ban. We know how confident he is on the champion in particular. And what about the Sejuanis? Will they raise in priority at all?
Well, as we enter Champion Select powered by Omen and HyperX, Vetty, you hit the nail on the head. Not going to give Azhi those comfort picks. Obviously, PSG, sometimes this is a portion of their gameplay that people criticize. They play a lot towards topside. Maybe it doesn't always make sense, but the Rumble certainly has been terrifying in the hands of Azhi, a guy who insisted on playing in plans. We were initially skeptical, but it has been proven correct. He had the right read on the meta. This champion looking incredibly powerful overall, as the Aurora is also going to hit the bench. Orianna,
That's telling.
taken away.
The fact that FlyQuest ban Aurora on the blue side, because the fact that PSG ban Ahri, you know, it's like, we don't want you to have that power pick. There's the only alongside of it, which I'm imagining as Worlds continues, this is the trend that we'll continue to see on red side. But the Aurora should usually be the third ban on the red side, but FlyQuest saying we don't want to pick it, or we don't play it. Maybe they don't have the flexibility of being able to play at both top and
It's
in the
interesting
mid lane.
because it puts them in a difficult position where very often we see champions like Ashe or Sejuani, either a jungler or an prime AD, taken off the board, and they really can't do that. Instead, we're really seeing triple bans essentially for top lane.
Yeah, they really targeted Azhi in this draft, and they want to set up Bwipo for success. Of course, he is going to have to blind pick something. You imagine Cassante immediately rises in priority as that blind pickable top laner, but perhaps Renekton, something that he dominated domestically on and was something that in the LCS you had to respect or fear suffering on the top side of the map. Kai'Sa going to be the final ban directed towards Massu, who's honestly had a pretty solid tournament so far. His positioning in the fights has been pretty good. We'll see if he can maintain that performance today with so many first picks. Will it be something like the Vi? And Inspired has showcased a wealth of different champions throughout his career, both in
Definitely
EU
has.
and NA.
So it looks like, as Renekton is locked, okay, ban set up to try to ensure that Bwipo is in a position where he can safely blind pick top. Kind of willing to more or less fall on the sword for the team there, give a bit more time, give a bit more information, as they didn't have another high priority blind pick. What will PSG reveal? Because the thing you highlighted, obviously Inspired, incredibly deep champion pool, but a lot of times it's going to be kind of contingent on what the enemy is going to pick. See if he has any options in the Vi that feel good, or if we'll end up in kind of a more conventional jungle matchup with something like the Sejuani.
Ooh, bit of a throwback there.
I mean, Maple is here, iconic for a long time in the context of PSG.
Yeah, we have seen mids be very high priority in the draft. We already saw the lock-in from Knight earlier, and we're going to see it from Maple as well. Okay, so that Vi Ahri mid-jungle combo is a tried and true one. We've seen it for many years, just because they both set up each other. Land a charm, you get the Q connect or whatever. Usually it's the Vi to initiate, which then allows the Ahri to follow up. And because of the mobility of the two champions, they just synergize very effectively.
They do. And additionally, we saw in the previous game, right, Ahri very good on her own, but when she has that additional follow, it makes it so much easier if you do want to play more for picks in the mid game. But Inspired going to opt for the Ivern. What we're missing here, you have the melee bruiser, one of the two kinds of champions that really loves to have the Ivern. Now, the scaling hyper carry is usually the other missing component to make sure the Ivern can be effective.
Typically, I would expect a Syndra, but I don't like Syndra here.
Cassio instead.
Yes, the other kind of go-to for quad.
And that is a scaling carry. I was expecting something more in the AD department, but certainly can bring a lot to bear.
They wanted AP, right? And you also need something that can kind of work with an Ivern, but at the same time, you're playing into a Vi Ahri, so you need something relatively safe. Miasma, great against dashes. Of course, its placement is crucial in that setup. But yeah, it's a champion that Quad is very comfortable on, something that he is well known for domestically, and I think just provides that scaling late game avenue. Very good in the front to back, especially.
Definitely, and you're in a situation now where Fly, if you can weather the storm of a combo like a Gnar, the Ahri, and the Vi, your turn is so good. The Ivern shielding, if it can keep people healthy, Cassio immediately turns, she has so much sustain, the potential to run targets down. Of course, absorbing that initial gauge is always tricky, and PSG going to do what they can to take away any more kind of safe backline options, Ashe and Cassio together would make it essentially unplayable for any melee champion that finds themselves dashless.
The AD carry bands coming through with the Ashe.
And those are the two champions that Massu's played so far, the Kai'Sa and the Ashe. So we'll need to show us something new. Of course, for Betty in the bottom lane, the Kai'Sa has been the go-to, and it does work very well with what PSG have put together thus far.
Excuse me. I was thinking whether Varus is kind of where my gut is going.
Yeah.
But it depends, like, I like Ezreal into Vi Ahri, just because you have that extra bit of mobility. Don't think Ezreal plus Ivern is a great combo.
No. I mean, it is a little bit awkward. Obviously, we saw a little bit of lethality, Varus.
Zaya's a good ban. I like Zaya a lot. I think Zaya would have been actually a great pick for FlyQuest, so I like that ban coming through for PSG. When you have this much dive and backline threat, the ability to self-peel that Zaya's ultimate brings.
Kai'Sa ban for Betty. Obviously doesn't leave you with the strongest 2v2, depending on the bond to box line. Instead, they're going to take away the Rakan. So seeing the potential of more or less the Wombo comp or the picks that PSG can bring to bear and saying, we don't want to give you any more reliable kind of instant engage tools. And this is the other option, right? When you have a comp that wants picks and dive, you can do the Kai'Sa and she'll follow him in, or the Jhin who will stay an arm's length away. Jhin has not been a very successful champion in the context of Worlds. Pretty low win rate overall, but has had one or two incredibly standout games. In the hands of Jackie Love, of course, against T1. That was how they found their first win.
Kai'Sa's going to be locked in. Okay. My only concern with Kai'Sa is that I don't think you have like the best dive buddies to work with.
No.
Right now, I feel like FlyQuest has drafted a little bit more of a front to back. With
Yeah, the Kai'Sa was really good with the Ahri and the Vi.
It's
less appealing with the Ivern Renekton, although it can still work, of course.
Leona, I think, is fine. Rell can be a little trickier when there's so much mobility on the other side to set up that kind of wombo combo, especially if like you do connect the Rell ultimate and then Ahri can just kind of dash out of it. It, you know, can be a little bit awkward. So having that hard CC makes sense, provides a little bit more, especially follow-up when paired up with the Ivern too. The Rell, though, on the side of PSG makes a lot of sense, just really facilitating the dive. My expectations were that the AD carries were going to be swapped in this draft, but either way, going to go with the Jhin, having a little bit more range on the side of PSG. The pick potential definitely can follow up pretty effectively, but a lot of PSG's draft is going to be revolved around their mid-jungle duo. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a swap come out from FlyQuest to not only get the Renekton out of the Gnar matchup, but also to then help the Kai'Sa weather the storm of the first few early levels. Ultimately, though, decent amount of scaling on the side of the FlyQuest, a lot off the back off of this Cassio, who I think is going to be one of the main damage threats, obviously. The one thing that's really interesting, Baron, Sneaks, Ivern, Cassio. Something you have to be really cautious about in the mid to late game just because of how quickly she can take that objective. She does need the blue, but once she's got it, that objective is easy pickings.
It's a good call because Kai'Sa, also 2 items, right, is going to shred through the objective. And it's something that we don't see a lot in the context of compositions at Worlds. There are very few champions that give you that Baron shred capability. So haven't seen a lot of the cheeky 20-minute Baron steals thus far. Perhaps this game will be a little bit different as we get ready. Fly versus PSG.
The Yuumi with a gun.
That's a Yuumi with a gun.
Was quite surprised.
That was my favorite piece of art I've seen on broadcast so far. Well done, whoever you are in the audience. So, who wins?
It's Yuumi on Jhin. That's the idea,
No.
right?
Who wins? Yone or Yuumi with a gun? That's the question on my mind. Just saying.
I don't want to ask
We
that
could fix the balance team. Give her a gun. We might have solved the Yone problem. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, we get in the game now. Of course, remember that while this is 1-1, this is not an elimination game for either team. There's still a lot on the line in terms of pride. Fly were crushed when they had to leave MSI early as PSG kind of dismantled them. And for those of you at home, well, I'm going to wax on about narrative. Remember to log into your Riot account on LAAAAesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules.
Get that stuff.
Get the stuff. You're here anyway. Just get the stuff.
Also, you can check in on how your pick'ems are doing.
Yeah. Mine are not good.
If you're a Hextech enthusiast, you'll be happy.
If you're a Yone enthusiast in terms of highest presence, you will be happy.
Yeah, true. I think I picked Nocturne as my highest win rate, which, to be honest, was going pretty well. Until Yone started winning it.
That sounds like a meme, but it has worked out.
Yeah, it's 80%, 75% win rate. It's like 3-1 right now, so it needs one more game, and if it wins it, then Nocturne's in a pretty
No one's
good
ever
spot.
getting Yone again, so you have a chance. You just need really good Nocturnes to play Nocturne.
Yeah, but I honestly need really bad Yones to play Yone. That's also...
All I'll say is like we might have had a few of those moments, and it might not have mattered. Regardless, keeping track of how the lane assignments are shaping up, you've got the duo on the top side of the map, so FlyQuest will be initiating the lane swap. Of course, with the Ivern in the jungle, a lot of free time for Inspired once he finishes that initial clear, the first clear through. See if he wants to leverage that to go for a dive here. But Massu, not too concerned about how much damage Betty's going to do to the tower, so they shouldn't drop too much.
Typically, we see a split map here, Dragos, but Inspired has started on his red, and I think he's relying on the fact that his clear speed will be fast enough that he should be able to secure this. So the lane swap is already in an interesting spot, because normally the split map means that the jungler is in a position to threaten the dive on bot lane. I mean, JunJia can still be there, but he's not going to have any camps to take, which means that as he's threatening that potential dive, he's going to be losing his whole top side.
Very
which
true.
means that Bwipo actually feels safe enough to come bot already because the risk of the dive is lower. And look at the positioning of Inspired. He is only level 2, but he's been able to clear out his bot side camps, and he's in a position to potentially defend in the event of a dive.
Giving a little bit more support to Bwipo. Obviously, yesterday was a bit of a disaster. While Bwipo fell behind even really before the lane started, received no support, and I think it did really hurt when you have this TP-less Darius. So a bit more support coming from Inspired this time, and still can just move up to the top side. And the beauty of the Ivern, of course, just instantly delete those camps and be on even pace with JunJia, despite the fact that he spent a bit of time on the bottom side just in case to cover.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of Ivern, right? Like, you spend so much time after your full clear just kind of wandering around anyway. That committing some time on the bot side is not that big of a deal. Just seeing some of the challenges that Ahri can run into whenever she wants to approach the wave, Cassio can just kind of harass her.
Yeah.
And there's very little that the Ahri can do to trade back. Meanwhile, Bwipo hitting level 4 on the bot side of the map. Definitely a unique iteration to the lane swap, because so far we've kind of seen this solved approach where the people get level 2 and then the potential dive, and it's like this sequence of events that happens. But just the introduction of Ivern to the situation really changes things up.
Also, one trend we've seen with Kai'Sa specifically is people are really comfortable leaving Kai'Sa in the 1v1 versus the majority of top laners in the meta. Although I'll hold that thought as Bwipo caught up in a bit of CC here. No ignite for Woody as it's burning down on Bwipo, excuse me. He's gonna die, first blood.
I mean, he just misplays. I see the idea that he's trying to go for there. He ease in, cues the melee minions, ease back out again. But he gets chain CC'd. I wasn't sure if he got stunned first or if the Jhin W hit him, but there are 3 pieces of CC in this lane. There's the Rell dismount, there's the Rell Q, and there's the Jhin W. And all 3 of them hit him, which meant that he was CC'd long enough to allow them to get the kill. He even expends the flash.
The flash, I think, is ultimately the awkward portion. Of course, playing pretty aggressive to make sure that he can get the XP. Again, in the context of a lane swap, if you get minions, if you get money, that's okay. But as long as you're getting XP, you're generally in a fine state. Giving more money over to Betty is going to hurt, though. Early Swifties, faster on the rotation, getting to top faster now. And it looks like it's going to be the matched 2v2 here, where Betty arguably stronger in terms of itemization. Yes, less combat stats, but Swifties are so nice for Jhin in terms of trading.
What I will say is, even though Bwipo died, when you look at the actual top lane circumstances, Azhi lost a lot of XP because he was being zoned away by the wave, whereas PSG's bot lane continued to push in, allowing Bwipo to soak up a lot of XP. On top of that, the top wave was pushing, meaning that Massu and Busio can catch that wave, and Bwipo was able to TP in on the stacked wave bot. So in terms of XP, like, look at how far ahead Bwipo is right now. 2 full levels. Azhi is about to tick over to level 4, but Bwipo is going to be level 6.
And that's terrifying for the Gnar. Cans continue to harass in mini Gnar form. Once 6 comes through, dives get very easy, even without, honestly, Inspired in the area. Azhi going to have to play very conservatively, very respectfully for the next few levels, as Betty caught out a bit there, but will sidestep the Void Seeker crucially. Stop that Plasma proc. Right now, very good pace early on for FlyQuest. The gold is close, but you can obviously see that some of the lead that FlyQuest do have in individual lanes is coming from Quad, keeping that pressure up in the mid lane. Does recall and get a tier. So good pace thus far, despite the kind of questionable early death from Bwipo.
I guess the other good news you could argue is that the first blood went over to Rell, which is pretty much where the gold lead is sitting right now. Inspired with his bot lane. Gonna start this objective. Cassio's underneath the tower for the time being. Nice setup of the brush wall to create this fog of war.
Good use of the Ivern utility. Mid lane was in an even state. Top lane now even, but they'll just be a little bit too late to the objective. The response coming in from JunJia now, but he's a little bit late on starting the objective here, so Fly will have a bit of an advantage in terms of map pressure.
Apologies for talking over there, Dracus. I just noticed that Cassio actually has half a level on Maple as well. We didn't get to see what happened in the mid lane matchup, but Quad must have had like a nice trade or done something to force Maple back, so they actually lost a wave. And now look, he's actually 2 waves up in terms of CS, and he's half a level. So Quad playing the 1v1 very well in the early laning phase. And kind of as expected for Cassio, right? Notorious for, especially level 2 onward. She hits you with a Q, she's willing to burn through her entire mana pool, and if you stick around for that, you're gonna die. So Maple, while he has really good setup when Woody is here, when JunJia is here, and the isolated 1v1, it is a tricky matchup to play out. Yeah, I mean, Cassio is that champion that only Cassio players can really play well. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Busio going in, but he's under the tower. It's a little bit awkward here. Charm now going in. Woody immediately going to fall. Ignite taking on Maple. It does not do too much. Twin Fang there. Whew. Quad threatening enough to stop them from killing his support at the very least.
Busio was so close to being underneath the tower from that charm. If he had been, and then the CC had come through from Woody, that likely would have killed him. 2 tower shots definitely would have connected.
JunJia on the way and inspired in the area as well. Maple immediately going to kick this fight off. Can they take the Cassio out of the equation? Petrifying Gaze is clean from Quad, but it's not enough. Maple quick to move back in with the dash. Finds the reset as well, and now Busio's in trouble. Shield coming in. Denting blows from JunJia. Buys enough time to find the second kill.
It's a double kill for Maple, but FlyQuest are able to respond. A crazy collapse from JunJia. Q's in, connects the ultimate as well. But Quad was able to find a magnificent ulti, just didn't quite have the damage needed to turn the kills in his favor. Overall, a 2 for 2.
Credit to Quad for getting the ulti off. I don't think that is quite as favorable, but you can see the aggressive look here from JunJia. And this is a team that's played together for so long, excellently coordinated.
Keep track as well of Busio. Flashes onto Maple, locks him down as much as he can, but the Q has already come through, so the damage is there. Chains CC onto Quad, flashes out, gets a nice ulti off, but then Maple has extra charges of his ultimate to be able to finish that one off. Busio secures a kill, and crucially in this 2v2, Maple got 2, Quad got 0, right? Making the lane matchup that much easier. Merc treads alongside the lost chapter secured for Maple makes the matchup so much easier.
And this is every single champion except for Kai'Sa is giving you Merc treads value in terms of that tenacity right now. This is a fantastic early purchase to have. Getting that extra gold is going to make this matchup so much easier. On top of the additional boots 2 movement speed, Cassio obviously going to be lagging behind for the vast majority in terms of that MS overall. But well played, well punished. Ultimately, just the distribution of gold that really makes it so favorable, as you highlighted. And now, when it comes to the overall gold, it's within touching distance. It's not that significant. But the 3 grubs for FlyQuest does mean we need to keep our eye on this grub spawn, where both teams are kind of going to open up onto the map. Where are these laners going to go? How are they going to assign?
Crucially, Bwipo still holds pretty much a full level over his lane counterpart. Junglers are even. Thanks to the double kill, Maple has been able to close the XP gap. Still finds himself a little bit down in farm, but the ultimate goal is in his favor. Dragon is still available. PSG weren't able to find that cross map when the grubs are dropping. Now with the grubs respawning soon, Bwipo will have his TP available. We're cresting the 10-minute mark as well, which is happening right now, which will unleash those TPs and mean that Bwipo will be poised and ready to fight in the event that grubs start. And Azhi won't have that same response.
And this is going to be a really tough fight if PSG do want to contest second grubs. But with bot lane already going in, with Bwipo getting aggressive here, looks like the Dragon might be the play instead. Azhi now backing up, JunJia on the way in. Bwipo debating where he wants to go. Massu ulti ready, can get involved in this fight if he needs to. Wall up is good, some initial damage. Void Seeker there, flash out from JunJia. Solid start to the play from the side of FlyQuest. Really taking control of the bottom side of the map.
I'm kind of surprised to see the FlyQuest bottom lane rotate here with the grub spawning, but they've set their sights on the Dragon. It looks like Charm
Good
connects.
Charm. Excellent route from Betty. Curtain call there now, 2. Redemption there. Is it enough? Quad now healing up. Nice sidestep. Blinking health bar. Nowhere left to go. Petrifying Gaze does nothing. Good patience from the side of PSG.
I mean, they really used their range to perfection right there. Nicely done from Maple and Betty. Quad couldn't hit anyone.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? It's like Cassio is one of these more close-range mages. If you can keep her at arm's reach, very hard for her to get involved. If she doesn't hit the Noxious Blast, she doesn't have that movement speed.
And it opens up the grubs as well for PSG.
bit disastrous because if you looked at the item spike, static was completed for Massu. You had redemption coming in for Inspired. He's forced to use that mid, and now a lot of the strength that they should have had in this fight no longer there. Didn't get the dragon either. Didn't really get much bot, so played for the kill, played for that gold. But luckily for them, powerful enough. Prio on their even lanes in top and mid means that they can just walk in and take this, get the 4 grub spike. That could have been much worse. Credit to Fly for getting back out on the map fast enough to stop the 3-for-3 grub trade.
Yeah, because after Quad died, Fly no longer felt confident enough to be able to contest the dragon. On top of that, there was a huge wave in mid that Quad ended up losing off the back of that, extending the gold lead even more in favor of Maple. And yeah, I mean, PSG, the idea was good to start off the grubs. The problem is you've just used 2 ultis in your mid and AD carry. And on top of that, Bwipo's just TP top lane and Azhi doesn't have TP available. So it's a difficult objective for you to continue to fight for, which means that FlyQuest find themselves with 5 grubs, which is a great place to be in as Bwipo gets himself another plate.
Gonna get 2 here. Azhi has no support. So Bwipo, I'm not sure how much information he has, but isn't gonna risk overcommitting or taking too bad of a trade. Of course, when the coal completes, Azhi will get a bit of a gold injection, will even up this lane to a certain degree. But now that both teams have their 1 item spikes, this would have been a time where PSG maybe could have found a fight on better terms, but the grubs sadly are already gone. Drake is still on the table, but we're a minute and a half away from Herald spawning.
Looks like PSG are going to start this one off, and FlyQuest are happy to concede it. Busio continues to hover around bot lane. Maybe they can catch Maple off guard. He's very respectful, though. Pings are coming down from both sides.
And this is where the merch rate value is insane, right? Leona goes from feeling unstoppable to manageable when you have that. So it's all about this miasma. If they can layer the CC, if they can find the setup. Unbeknownst to them, you've got 2 members waiting in the brush, ready to make the play happen. Bwipo and Azhi trading on the top side. Bwipo still sustaining that lane. Prio is Inspired. Likely to lose the red buff here. Collapse coming in. I don't think you want this fight. They don't really have good information. Ward over the wall will show them how many members of PSG are in the area. PSG not going to stick around. They don't want to take the risk. Waves aren't really in a good spot. If they die here, could lose a turret. Massu forced to cleanse.
Jinx.
Look at us, we're perfect singles. Of course, the cleanse isn't because of Betty. The cleanse is because he has no idea where the rest of PSG.
I mean, it's one of those things where in solo queue, maybe you don't cleanse that, right? Because you're just like, there's
do it, you won't.
Yeah.
In pro,
you're like, I'm cleansing that.
Right. I can either not have cleanse, or I can be dead and embarrassed for not having cleansed, right? So
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yep. I mean, it's just, in all honesty, it's a good perspective to have, you know? Just burn the flash, better to live and not have the flash than to die and have it up, as you already said.
Good
Same principle.
Quad. So
Either
awkward.
Either way, we kind of take stock of the situation. The gold advantages that PSG find themselves with are on mid and AD carry. Betty has been picking up plates, finds himself a kill. Maple also securing that double early on means that they put themselves in a very good position. And as MasterCard Lane Economy Snapshot is highlighting for us, the advantages for FlyQuest are sitting on the top side. So right now, I think PSG is happier because the gold is in the right places. And so as we enter the mid game with these items completed, you have to give that advantage initially over to PSG.
I think a lot of it is going to come down to that execution. We talked about it. So many good pick tools on the side of PSG. But when you're facing a Cassio alongside that Ivern, 5v5s can be really tricky if you don't have the proper setup. Tower for tower trade. But Fly with position on the top side of the map are going to be able to grab the Herald as well. So again, a situation where Fly are able to find the greater trade. Got the grubs earlier, now grabbing the Herald, in a position to start to really blow this gold lead open. We'll see where they want to use the Herald. Obviously, bot and mid tier 1 are both still up. But I think against a pick composition, just opening up mid lane gives you so much more access to the map.
In terms of itemization, it's pretty even across the board. Stride Breaker, though, finished for Bwipo after securing that first Tower Bloods. He was injected with a lot of gold. Now they can use this Herald to unlock mid. Massu has to showcase respect once again.
Bwipo waiting over the wall. Daisy fading away, gives us a little wave goodbye. Massu has to be very careful, though. As long as he's the follow-up, he'll be fine, but if he gets caught out, he's deleted very quickly. Maple level 11, really trying to use his power. Forces the dominance out from Bwipo, doesn't use the ult himself, so again, these small cooldown advantages don't look to be too important initially, but if they can follow up on them, may be able to build a greater advantage.
You are seeing, I would say subtly, one of the problems of FlyQuest composition being range, right? We saw it earlier with Quad in the mid lane, where Quad just couldn't hit the Ahri or the Jhin.
Yeah.
And in that situation there, Bwipo, he wanted to ult, build Fury, then get a longer stun off. But again, he just wasn't quite in range. Now, this may not matter depending on the outcome of the team fight, but it is something to keep track of, that like Ahri and Jhin, these champions that just get bonus movement speed from things in their kit, as well as the things like the fleet footwork, like it can be really annoying for champions like Renekton, for champions like Cassiopeia, for Kai'Sa, who really wants to be within range of you, right? And so we'll see if it ends up being a problem. But yeah, again, it's very subtle because like outside of that one kill that we saw in mid, it's not really resulting in a huge amount of advantages for PSG so far.
But you can also see why this game has been a lot more about moving around the map than it has been about these big full-on 5v5s. It's tough for FlyQuest to really press their advantage.
I mean, I'll also say it's nice to see, you know, a Western team recognizing they've got good scaling and just being patient in the early game, not trying to overforce fights.
No, I don't know. I really love the fact that every game either starts with Western teams doing good and then immediately throwing, or finding a way back in the mid game. As Bwipo's now in trouble. Good healing coming in. The Ignite already there. That means he's likely to fall. Flashback to safety is clutch. Massu free hitting on Woody, taking a decent amount of damage for stepping forward. Daisy's first knockup looking good. Second knockup coming in. How many can they hit? Go, Daisy, go. Not able to get anything else. Walking away now as Maple gets a bit of the chunk there.
So Bwipo ambitiously tries to contest the Scuttle Crab in the mid lane, and you could argue that it was a success because his team did secure the objective and it ends up being a trade of flashes. But Quad investing the TP, ready for a fight. Which
Drake
one
in 3
doesn't
seconds.
manifest?
Maple no ult, JunJia no ult. So if we look at the 5v5, Fly feel good about the trade. Yes, they're down Bwipo's flash, but they have all their team fight tools.
We find ourselves in another situation similar to the previous game where Maple wants to back. I think he has enough gold to complete his item, but I think it's going to be too late, which means that second dragon of the game will go over to FlyQuest. Interrupt's going to come through from Bwipo as well, and I mean, there's no rush to go back to base at this point, given that the objective has already fallen.
Mountain Soul, not the best roll, not too bad either. Of course, Jhin notoriously bad at killing some of these beefier health bars, and when you have the shielding on top from Inspired, always going to feel good to get more out of those shields. See if there's any sort of... I don't think anyone builds Serpent's Fang anymore, I feel like, but you never know.
True. We find ourselves in a more measured game than I was expecting.
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's important to note that, like, when PSG, you know, when they're not forced to play crazy, they're often they're slow, objective fight, pick kind of team. And that's part of the reason I think that they're so respected and they have found so much success internationally, is why they were able to take, like, BLG, for example, to 5 games, is they can play a really controlled mid to late game.
I will say, I feel like this is projection, right?
Okay.
But it feels like that FlyQuest is, like, very aware of what happens at MSI, based on what I'm watching, you know? Like, again, it's purely speculation because I don't know what the comms are like, but it does feel like that they're constantly reminding each other, be mindful, be careful, this jungler could be here, respect this play. It does feel like they're super respectful of their opposition.
Well, you can't afford to lose. They certainly do not want to. Nice poke onto Bwipo. Maple did, unfortunately, charm a minion earlier. Bwipo would have sidestepped the charm, but now he's getting aggressive, trying to delete the wave, knowing his team is getting something else on the map. E going to be immediately interrupted. So PSG find a quick kill topside, but the wave getting deleted by Azhi is crucial. Now in the mid lane, they're already using their Herald, but Maple is here to defend.
That was a crazy good play from PSG.
Charm is clutch. Rue coming in from Betty as well. The Redemption now coming in, inspired, in trouble. Massu needs to get out. PSG, fantastic play topside. They stopped the counter punch coming in for Fly. Well done.
Everything about that was incredible. Busio now goes for the stun.
Quad has to be the difference maker. He and Massu. Massu only on a single item. He's behind. This is so hard for them to play out. Quad locked up. Unstoppable Vi goes in. JunJia going back. Quad wants to get a bit more space, flashing out to safety. Busio going to be the sacrifice, so the rest of the team can escape. But now Massu's in trouble. Ignite ticking just so they keep the vision, just so they can follow where he goes. In trouble now. Knockback is there. Massu ulting out, but it will not beat to safety. Just delaying the death. PSG, what a beautiful sequence.
It really was, Dracos. I mean, Azhi ults bot to deny the cross map from happening. Bwipo wisely realizes I'm dead, there's nothing I can do in this situation. He even tried to disengage from the tower, knowing that the dive was coming, but they cut off his escape route, so he just cuts off the wave so they can't get the tower. However, PSG, they TP into mid lane here from Maple, and then he connects the charm onto Inspired, catching him off guard, setting up for the pick follow-up from Betty, and then the TP flank to come in from Azhi, who'd been zoned away from the bot tower. But FlyQuest can't play for the bot tower because now they have to defend for this fight. And honestly, Busio, he overstays here. I think that they should have used Busio, sacrificed him to help Quad and Massu get away. The ultimate doesn't connect with a nice flash from JunJia. And then they turn it into a 5 versus 3 where they end up picking up 4 kills in total. Just a great sequence where they protect their mid, protect their bot, find 4 kills, and FlyQuest get nothing.
Incredible. And I think this highlights so well the strengths of PSG, how composed they can be as a team, as a unit overall. And we go back to the interview NukeDuck had at the start of the day. Hey, some of the comms, some of those moments were a bit too chaotic. Clearly losing track of the play, losing track of the greater context of the game, because PSG initially just managed to stall the play, but then when Maple was able to go forward, leverage the range of the Jhin coming in from Betty as well, it went from bad to worse so damn fast.
I mean, PSG is a team that I think many see as an easy draw, you know, especially for the West, especially given the options available, but they continue to usurp those expectations, getting their revenge against MDK now in a very comfortable position against FlyQuest. The game is definitely not over just yet. With the itemization that they have, the positions that they're in, I mean, I guess the good news for FlyQuest is when you look at the scoreboard, you're not that concerned. No, you know? You see, oh, well, my mid laner's got 2 items, your mid laner's got 2 items. Jungler is pretty even in terms of itemization, especially Ivern, going to primarily building supportive itemization. AD carries. Okay, sure, we're down a bit of anti-healing and the crit cloak, but still, it's not the end of the world. So FlyQuest shouldn't be all doom and gloom just yet. Especially given that they've only lost 1 tower and they were able to secure that bot one as well. So, at the end of the day, with Dragon spawning in about 20 seconds, FlyQuest could choose to concede this. Maybe it's even smarter to just play for the mid-tier 1 instead.
Might be. Bwipo, I think, is going to be the player that really needs to find a way to leverage his advantage. He's the top laner with the item completion. He's the one with the individual gold lead. Level 14. If he can get onto the backline, if he can ever find Betty, you talked about it earlier, right? The range is so difficult. May have to come down to a flank. Use of their lane pressure to set up vision for a future play. But now the threat around Baron, something we talked about earlier, Cassio, Kai'Sa together. They can obliterate the objective if they're given time. The Fly a bit split. They're going to lose out on the Drake here. Won't get much in return. Bwipo really needs to be close to mid just in case the dive play comes through.
There's also nothing Bwipo can do. Like, that wave bot lane, he can't go and get it. Yeah. So he's just like, I guess I'll just hover around mid lane. Now he's moving up top side.
Massu, stun. No additional follow-up.
Every time someone gets CC'd, he's hitting you with the Deadly Flourish.
Yeah, this is... I feel like it's a clear indicator when people have played with the Jhin comps and with the same players for a really long time. Because we saw even earlier today, like, little miscommunications from Fnatic on where exactly the Jhin CC needed to go. But no matter where that champion goes, he always hits that W.
Reaching a nice spot now in the game.
I feel like we're running into one of the League of Legends classic, ladies and gentlemen, which is the team who's winning but not super crazy far ahead versus the team who has better scaling but like there's some context.
Yep.
But the simplification is they're going to do more sustained damage if we go late. The more complex version is it's still really hard for them to get in a position to do that damage.
Yeah, I mean, execution is kind of what it's going to come down to, and that's really been the biggest concern for the Western teams so far at this World Championship. Opportunities have been presented to a bunch of different Western teams, and they haven't been able to capitalize on them. So we'll see if they can find those opportunities in this game. The mid towers are kind of the easy objectives to look at. I would say one of the areas where PSG could probably be indexing more is that top tower is an easy one to take. If they overstack, invest their vision, get the prio and mid, which they're pretty consistent at doing, and then play towards that top, they could probably easily secure it. And you can start to see that happening now. They've been able to push in that top wave now. They move into the river, they get the mid push, and then they turn their attention towards the top tower. So I think they could have made this play earlier. Ultimately, though, they still get the objective. And there's not really much to cross-map on the side of FlyQuest. This tower was kind of destined to fall eventually.
Certainly. Dawn Core now completed for Inspired, so A lot of additional healing and shielding power might be enough to block that initial burst of damage that comes in from the PSG composition. Massu going for the AP itemization, I think makes a lot of sense. The range disadvantage you highlighted earlier, somewhat mitigated when you have Kai'Sa who could just unleash that poke.
See how the goal differences continually grown in the favor of PSG. A large portion of it off the back of those 4 kills they were able to find around mid. Betty's sitting on a 400 gold bounty right now. Target that FlyQuest would love to secure. PSG overstacking a mid, but looking for a potential flank, not going to overstack it. Look at all these Jhin traps, though, hovering around the mid lane, making things a little bit more awkward.
A little bit of disruption, especially when you don't have that much range. Can be so frustrating. Quad finishing Rylai's. So really, between Inspired and Quad, if they ever get on top of anyone, they will die. There's no getting away from this composition. But it is very easy to just keep them at arm's reach. If they ever get in arm's reach, you're not escaping.
This tower is just being slowly chipped away at. I mean, PSG, they're not overcomplicating the game. It's nice to see.
I mean, you can see bot wave going to demand a response, but top wave in an even spot, you can really take your time. You can spend as much time mid as you want, as long as the enemy doesn't send anyone up there. And PSG taking advantage of that fact to break this tower. And when you're the person playing the Ahri Vi composition, every bit of space you get is so incredibly valuable.
My question is that, like, what is the moment that FlyQuest is kind of waiting for? Because PSG, you know, like, all of their moves have kind of been predictable, right? Oh, we're going to play for top tower, and then we're going to play for mid tower. And a lot of that is Betty is able to guarantee mid prio because Massu's largely left isolated in the mid lane, right? FlyQuest, on the meanwhile, are just kind of farming. They just keep catching waves. They're not really playing for anything. And you could make the argument, well, it doesn't really make sense for them to try and force it.
We say as they TP in to force it.
Wow, they are forcing it. So, okay, so Maple completes his item, and they sit there and go, Jhin as well, and they're saying, we're strong enough, let's fight.
Yep. Starting this one off, Fly want to get in the area. Quad has to be careful. He cannot be the one to face check that. Luckily, the brush vision coming in from Inspired does allow them to step forward. They don't get a lot out of FlyQuest to start that objective. It costs them the TP. If they can't find the fight here, it's a bit difficult. Bwipo looking to get a little bit more on the stride breaker. Nice initial damage, but he gets knocked back to the wall. Pretty easy initial kill pickup. Nice counter engage coming in. Redemption. Bwipo still standing. That's going to be big. FlyQuest finding the initial angle. JunJia running out to safety. Curtain call coming across the backside, but there's no blinking health bars yet. Maple trying to make the difference, but Busio is there with the CC to lock him down. Charm goes the wrong way. Maple ticking down. Poison in his veins. He's going to drop. Shutdown coming through for Quad. FlyQuest beautifully played.
I was worried about that engage from Bwipo because it felt like that he'd overextended. He was going to get turned on, but the support from the Ivern at this point in the game, FlyQuest finally found the confidence to make the play that they needed. Betty chipping away at Bwipo.
He doesn't do enough damage to finish that kill. And again, they obliterate this objective. Do they turn for Azhi? Rage stacking, 7 seconds on the Mega Gnar. It's not enough. FlyQuest getting the objective. They were getting bled out across the map, but PSG overcommit on that Baron, and Fly are quick to punish.
Yeah, it was, I understand the idea. Like, we've just gone back to base, we've hit our power spikes, let's force before FlyQuest can spend gold of their own. But then it ends up in this situation. This is what concerned me for Bwipo. It felt like that he was the one overforcing at this point, but the amount of utility that he gets in combination with the Sterix and the Ivern, look at this massive shield. He's able to soak up so much. Quad's ultimate comes through, they take out Woody, they turn their attention onto JunJia as Azhi is forced to back away, and Maple just can't really lock a target down. So he's the one that then gets locked down. And basically, Bwipo just acts as a tank. He is the one soaking up all the damage. He's the one drawing all that pressure. And PSG crumble under that pressure. They can't find the targets that they're looking for. And FlyQuest get the front to back that they're looking for.
And kind of the success I feel like they had in previous plays, making them forget how powerful FlyQuest are from a compositional perspective. The item advantage is not enough to balance out when Cassio is able to get into range so easily. Bwipo really the bait, and this is something Inspired talked about in his interview with Travis Gafford. Hey, there are so many teams when we're winning, when we're finding wins domestically, where we just offer them a little crumb, they come in and we take everything for them, and that's exactly what happened with Bwipo. Stun coming in, not going to burn anything else. Baron there, and this is where the Ivern gets so frustrating. No real long-range siege potential, but a lot of tools to make PSG's life difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the other problem with FlyQuest comp is hitting the towers can be a little bit stressful, but if they keep leveraging the Baron empowered minions,
Bwipo going in again. Sterix is a very good item, and Ivern backing him up means he's gonna live. He should be dead.
I can't believe that he lived that, but you're really seeing the value of this Ivern. The utility, the redemption, the shielding. They get the tower. I mean, it's like the perfect combo. Bwipo can be unleashed as he wants, and Inspired will always be there to protect him.
It's like they baby-proofed the Renekton. It's like they covered him in styrofoam. So he can't hurt himself. Like Inspired's like a mom coming in like, oh, nope, not there. Yeah. Here's a redemption. Here's a shield. Let's back that one up. And to be fair to Bwipo, like some of these plays look very aggressive, but the reality is the second he goes in there and he lives, they have enough space to take that tier 2. So while it's volatile and under certain circumstances, you'll look at that as crazy. In the context of this game, it generates enough space for Fly to actually get some money value out of the Baron.
FlyQuest haven't been able to build a huge lead, but remember that they were at a 3k gold deficit.
Yep. And now you have Seekers coming in for Massu. He's got enough AP to empower the Void Seeker, so you kind of weathered the storm of what was a pretty commanding lead for PSG in terms of power in the game.
For sure. And the Serpent's Fang gonna offer a lot of value.
I didn't think we'd see it, but there it is. Healing, I mean, you feel for Betty though. He's the carry and he has to buy the shield reduction item and the heal reduction item.
Jhin not having Infinity Edge does feel bad.
Yeah, I'll say Mortal Reminder is very comparable to Lord Dominic's these days because they obviously nerfed the armor pen on it. So that heal cut doesn't feel bad. Yes. Serpent's Fang obviously will feel good if you're getting value out of the shielding cut. In any other situation, it's gonna feel quite bad.
Gale's Crucible now finished for Inspired as well. That is like a mega fed Ivern.
Hey, bubble wrap this Renekton, man. He is not gonna die. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
They put the baby in Kevlar, Betty. He is safe.
Yep. I mean, I just think that it enables his aggression perfectly. Now, PSG have set their sights on the tier 2 in bot lane. They've got a nice push in mid. They're looking for picks. They won't find one. Busio here to defend for now, but Quad is on his way. They've got to be careful of a potential dive. They don't really have the members here. The cross map coming through from Bwipo on the top lane.
It's taking a bit of time.
Yeah, the TP response can happen as well.
There's no real other play to go for here. They get the TP, obviously long cooldown before Baron and another Drake will be up. So TP advantage to the side of Fly. That's kind of what they get from the pressure. FlyQuest in a pretty damn good spot, all things considered, right?
Yeah,
we talked about their comp outscaling. They are now in a strong enough position that they can fight for lane prio, that they can set up on these objectives. And again, really that one play bringing them back in this game is Bwipo. Getting a little aggressive here, but he's safe. He has the shields, he's charmed, but he's still alive. Curtain call coming out. Follow from Maple, not enough. Oh, and this is the problem we've seen with some of these Ahri Jhin compositions. If you don't have the damage to finish that first kill, it feels so hard to follow up anymore in the fight.
So that was what I was going to say. I feel like PSG are running into a bit of a damage problem now because it's not just that you have to get through this Renekton, it's that you've also got to get through that repeated support provided by Inspired. So with Jhin and Ahri, with this much utility, like...
And the thing is, if you burn your cooldowns on the Renekton, you do not kill him, and you overstep even 1 second, it's Massu flying in on top of you.
It's the war of attrition.
Yeah,
I just feel like you lose.
You can't win the war of attrition, so you have.
And you've got to reload. Like,
it was cool when he was ahead. When he's even or behind, it feels really bad.
Massu.
Okay, it doesn't feel that bad. Nice sidestep for Massu. That saves his life. Does have the cleanse, but lucky he doesn't have to use it. TP now being used mid. That was the advantage they had from earlier, but Azhi is off to the side. They have to keep their eyes on this Narc. Instantly Inspired now zoning him off, using Daisy to get him away. 13 seconds on Baron. They can't use their mid prior to go up. PSG already have setup on the Drake, and it looks like Fly feel more confident in the 5v5. They don't want to give them access into the river. Daisy going in, a bit more poke. Betty and Maple isolated.
Bwipo leveraging the Fog of War, going to get spotted out by the trap though.
Good patience from PSG though. They wait until Daisy
not
dies.
Being started off. All of the vision is just like, look, they're out of wards. The only thing they get to see, oh, Busio.
Quick stun. What are you out for now?
It's the ulti again. Busio needs to be a little bit more patient, I feel. A few times now.
Asma down. Bwipo going forward. Stun not quite hitting. The charm was perfect. Massu backs up, but Betty just flashes into his team. Redemption doing so much work, but Betty goes down. Void Seeker from Massu. He's ready to take over in this fight. Flash forward. The double. Redemption. Lethality bars was not enough at MSI, but the Kai'Sa is killing everybody in this game. Massu going for more. Can he get 4? Quadra for Massu. Maple running, they won't give him the penta. But that's a redemption story if I've ever seen one.
In the war of attrition, it is FlyQuest that stands strong. Quad's HP didn't even see a semblance of damage. And you can see how hard it is for PSG, even in a situation where the start of the fight looks promising. It's just not enough. Bwipo, his engaged fumbles. It doesn't work out, but the amount that he is able to tank up is crazy. A nice snipe comes through from Massu onto Betty. He flashes over the wall to secure that kill, and then it just becomes a chase down. FlyQuest, they use their comp to perfection, and they basically say, we're gonna run at you. If you can't kill us, we're gonna kill you.
And I gotta say, credit to FlyQuest. Weathered the storm mentally when they were falling behind, when they were making 1 or 2 missteps against a team that had embarrassed them on the international stage, but kept strong, kept playing to their win conditions, and now they've set their sights on Baron. Hex flash over the wall coming in for Busio, trying to zone the way.
Don't 50-50 this FlyQuest.
Quad can miasma. Is that going to be the follow-up? Do they burn the objective for a split? It's a bit of a split focus, and Quad can flash over the wall, but it's awkward, but they will secure the Baron. Bwipo not too scared. Well played by FlyQuest.
Yeah, they played that really well. Not only does Bwipo go over, but the moment he gets CC'd, Quad even throws down the miasma. The flash did come through. Well, I say the flash. The Q came through from JunJia to be able to create space, but that was enough to help them secure the Baron. And FlyQuest with another objective could look to try and finally break the base. Again, the reason why it's been so difficult for them to leverage the advance that they had earlier, even though they'd already kind of outscaled at that point, was just because of the range. It's very difficult for them to siege, so they kind of rely on the Baron, but now that they've got it, they can play through 2 waves and they can start to chip away at those towers.
And also, just Bwipo is so damn tanky, right? Maple still hasn't completed really a major magic penetration item. He has some flat pen, but obviously Merc Treads as well. Really good in the context of playing against this comp. It does mitigate some of the damage he can put out. And now PSG really holding on. This position, earlier if Bwipo stepped too far forward, it was hard for him to survive, but at this stage, he can eat a bunch of cooldowns. And the rest of his team will be there to punish if PSG overcommit or cannot finish that kill.
I don't like the fact that FlyQuest is basically just playing through one. Oh, okay, never mind. They just
just
gonna brute force it.
They have the Daisy, and they know they're tankier. They know they win the 5v5. And this is the other awkward thing too, right? Is that there's just not, outside of Azhi's ulti, there's not really a lot of reliable AoE. I mean, so you can't really punish them either when they group up unless Meganar's ready to go.
Truthfully, PSG just don't have enough damage. And by that I mean, like, it's very single target focused. Yeah. You've got Ahri, you've got Jhin, and you've got the Vi, who all like lock down a target, and then once that target is dead, you can convert the rest of the fight. But like, you can't even kill that one target. So if you can't get rid of one, what are you gonna do about the other 4?
And credit to Inspired, being willing to pull this jungler out, right? Ivern is a champion that people kind of love or hate, depending on what your champion pool looks like. But against the Vi Ahri, if you can weather the storm, Ivern's one of the perfect answers, right? Because it disrupts so much. The shielding stops the pick potential.
It was one of his domestic comforts, right? That alongside the Amumu, and like he's proven why teams have chosen to ban it away from it multiple times.
Woody over the wall, though, not spotted. Quad, we'll see him. TP now coming in, Bwipo joining the squad. They just want to keep bullying with this 5-man unit. Bwipo going in, looking for the stun, trying to lock up Maple, trying to lock up Betty, trying to lock up anybody. And again, the redemption comes in. The shielding comes in this time around. The Serpent's Fang was there, mitigated some of that value. Bwipo will be forced to run away.
They still can't kill him,
retreating.
Maybe they overstepped their boundaries there. FlyQuest, their siege is going to be slowed down a lot. They did have a nice wave on the bot side of the map that they could have played with.
Already top, just continuing to pressure.
Not sure what they can do with that, though. They need a wave in mids.
Stalling to play for the wave in mid, it looks like. A window of opportunity where Betty doesn't have ult, Maple doesn't have ult, JunJia no ult. Perhaps Fly just want to hard force here in mid lane.
Healing from Bwipo coming through thanks to the red buff.
I mean, they're very powerful in the 5v5. Can they just dive this tower?
Vial was used, but the Baron buff is worn off now. So now it goes back to the Dragon, securing the Soul. But maybe they can look for a pick here.
JunJia locked up. Just happy to poke. And again, this is a team you can tell. I've seen a lot of FlyQuest games where they would have gone over that wall, is all I'm going to say.
Well, they've talked about how important this game really is. It'll put them at 2-1. The opposition in the 2-1 bracket is not easy, but you know what? It's the World Championship. No matchup is going to be easy.
PSG, a reminder that, as you highlighted, a team so many Western teams would be happy to draw. very quickly reminded Mad Lions they are no easy opposition, and in the early game certainly did the same to Fly.
I mean, PSG had a composition that with the early lead, they needed to the snowball
100%,
faster.
100%.
They needed to play faster. And we talked about how like their objectives they could have been playing for a little bit earlier. And unfortunately, they just waited a little too long. They tried to force that Baron on those 3-item power spikes. And that was the window that FlyQuest needed to turn the game around. Ultimately, FlyQuest did play the patient game. It ended up working out. They didn't overforce. And now they find themselves in this position. Soul point, Dragon spawning, 2 seconds. PSG
don't really have a lane to play through. They're completely split. It's an easy collapse. Massu could have got the first kill onto JunJia. There's no fight here for PSG. Redemption goes down. Bwipo going to take the additional healing. 500 health. Massu now unstoppable. Takes a bit more time than expected to kill JunJia. But he's dead all the same.
I mean, honestly, this game is
this
just
game is
done.
over. Yeah,
It's taking them a while to end. Again, because of the range, it's hard for them to siege. But like, PSG just don't... I think I can say with confidence, objectively, they don't have enough damage. They do not do enough to kill all of FlyQuest.
True. And I think we've learned, because we talked about Grass versus Electrocute earlier, that Electrocute is not enough to make Maple a one-shot late game assassin in the context of this game.
I mean, if he could land a full combo onto Massu before the Mountain Soul, maybe. Maybe.
If he can land a full combo onto Massu when he doesn't have cleanse and forgets to push Zhonya's or Flash.
Correct. If he stood there.
And if he doesn't have Mountain Soul.
And that doesn't account for Locket. Anything that Ivern does at all.
Just anything. Literally. He can just, like, at this point, his voice line gives shielding. He just goes, oh, when he gets 300.
Yeah, so, yeah. Let's not forget, okay, one of the, I guess you could say stupidest things, right? It's like, Inspired's ulti can not only block charm, but if you're not even in range, you could just, Inspired's ulti can tank the W from Ahri as well.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate set of interactions for Maple. And obviously for both these teams, right, you don't want to fall down to 1-2, but this is the last set of best of ones today. So from here on, you get the best of 3 chance. If this had been in the lower bracket, PSG would have the chance to adapt, to change their strategy, maybe to play more aggressive early. But at this stage, it's really going to take a miracle for them to come back.
I mean, this is kind of...
Daisy's soloing the Baron.
Yeah, just keeping it aggroed for now. I think that FlyQuest, they could just have quad. Yeah, Massu can also just do it with Daisy. That's also
greatest rivalries, LCK versus LPL, Daisy versus the Baron. Specifically Cupcake Daisy for some reason. Well, they one-shot it.
Yep.
And again, no discredit to PSG. They are an incredible team, but at this point from this position, just don't want to oversell, but also don't want to make it feel like we're underselling PSG. It's just impossible. The math just does not match.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, yeah.
They lose the Excel spreadsheet version of League of Legends as Bwipo goes in. Some initial damage. Ulti in the back is good. Maple trying to make the difference, but the charm does not hit. Crucially, JunJia now running. Azhi has the AoE, but he gets one pop. Massu doing so much damage.
Ends up being a 1-for-1, the trade of top laners, but as the wave comes through...
Maple can't play. You highlighted it. Daisy just blocks all the relevant cooldowns. Only the Orb of Deception will go through. Charm again, hitting a might. This man cannot catch a break. FlyQuest pushing in. This is a moment where they can overstep. One of the few left to them. Can they play it out clean?
Massu just melts these towers. He's going to keep
so
chipping away with the W.
W cooldown is non-existent. Massu going back. Woody doesn't hit, and that should do it. Massu free to do all the damage he wants, going godlike in this matchup. Benny, a dead man walking. JunJia running for the hills. Massu going golden, baby. Yet another quadra to come in as they close this one out in style. FlyQuest moving on to 2-1.
A shaky early game for FlyQuest, but they don't overforce, they don't over-aggress, they wait for their composition to scale up, to come online, and they're able to dominate. Massu, gonna be the highlight player, of course, but Inspired, 1-1-14, 100% KP on the Ivern.
I mean, good stuff, and I think I can just hear all of North America collectively breathing a sigh of relief, and at least some of North America's on our desk, so we'll find out what they have to say.
I mean, yeah, I feel so much better now.
You're not a part of the team. Calm down.
What?
Calm down. All right, relax.
The difference that 20 minutes of time makes. Because I'd say before they had the comeback fight, I was so nervous. It felt like they were too hyphy, that they were just making too many mistakes, that it was going to be another one of those games. Whew,
Yeah,
finally.
I was like, look, you have Ahri, Vi, Jhin. I was worried for the Cassio because it never really felt like we were going to have Preshow in a fight, and then it just clicked.
Yeah, it's all about recovery and how the champions are supposed to work together. And I feel like FlyQuest did a spot-on job on this account, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, they were able to pull off a crucial fight that saved the game completely.
Oh my gosh, they absolutely were. Like, let's take another look at this one. This is when they were down in gold, I believe, and the game had gotten sneaky late. Like, Bwipo is level 16, but I'd said 10 seconds before this, Bwipo's gonna flash forward and die, and that's what everybody thought was gonna happen until Sterix, Ivern, Redemption come in, and he actually doesn't even get close to dying. Meanwhile, FlyQuest clean the fight.
It's ridiculous because this is just one of many moments, and I think you said Hilly on Twitter talked about basically creating space. Bwipo created a lot of space. The one that reminded me, there he is!
Oh my God.
That's him!
Oh.
That is so cursed.
It is super,
Okay, there you
super
go.
cursed. And that's the game, actually. It's Bwipo's Renekton turning into it. But look at Massu. This was the result of the very long game. The Cassio, I'm still not completely sold on, because especially when we see the damage graph, it's not like they dove into Cassio and he repelled them.
Yeah.
It was Massu just doing 50,000 damage in that
crazy.
game.
The freedom to walk up, because it was really difficult for PSG to do anything about it, especially that bot lane play where I would love to see the specific HP, but Renekton was like in the single digits, it looked like.
Yeah.
But there was no shot from PSG side to get a kill. And so Massu recognized it, that blue side jungle fight where he hopped in freely and chased them down. Beautiful to see.
He did an amazing job. They all did an amazing job, I feel, collectively.
2-1.
And we actually have Massu standing by with Shocks for the Verizon post-game interview.
Massu, congratulations. What a hard-fought win. First question has to be, how does it feel to finally get revenge for MSI on PSG?
It feels good. I never really had a grudge against PSG or anything, but I did really respect them, especially like they're a very good team. So it feels good beating them.
Yeah. They showed that again in this game. I want to say, talk to me about kind of the approach and the difficulties early on and even to mid in that game and what you had to change in order to get that turnaround.
Well, the changes between MSI and here, or
No,
just
no,
between
this game,
right now?
this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the early game, we kind of made too many mistakes. We gave them a lot of gold, so we were on the back foot quite a bit. And we were fine because we scaled way harder than them. So we understood that if we just didn't give them too much gold, or we didn't let them stack Drakes or get Baron, that we can outscale them and win eventually. But yeah, that was kind of the mindset we had. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out exactly as you had planned it, but of course that comes with the stress of, okay, now the fights come that we absolutely have to win. And you're on Kai'Sa and you don't have any kills yet, and I guess in every fight you're like, okay, is this gonna be my moment? Is that a stressful situation? And did they take 2 pentas from you, or was it only 1?
I think I got 2 quarters, I'm not sure. But for the fights, I think the tension, of course, builds up between each item. Like, you're getting your items, and you know there's going to be one big fight, and you either win or lose, and it might decide the whole game. So it's definitely a bit nerve-wracking. But you don't really think of that in the game. You just think of your comp, the enemy comp, and how you want to fight, and then you kind of go from there.
Yeah, and you now move on to 2-1. You are in a great position. How do you feel about the steps you're taking, not just for yourself, but also as FlyQuest, with the lessons from the entire year, knowing that a lot of the eyes of NA, all of them actually, are on you to give them some hope?
For sure, I think throughout the year, especially in summer, we grew a lot as a team. We became a lot closer, and we played more coherently together. But I do think we have a long way to go, and I think we can definitely make it. So, yeah, I think our team can definitely be pretty good.
Awesome. Final question. How many times have you watched the music video and your part?
I can't count that many times.
I understand. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Massu. Fantastic game out of FlyQuest as they move on to 2-1.
Top laners in the meta. Although hold that thought as Bwipo caught up in a bit of CC here. No ignite for what he is. It's burning down on Bwipo, excuse me. He's gonna die. First blood.
My bad. I flashed out.
Gå ned, ja. Ahri, he's killed.
I have nothing. Nice. Should be nice.
Woody doesn't hit, and that should do it. Massu free to do all the damage he wants, going godlike in this matchup. Benny, a dead man walking, JunJia running for the hills. Massu going golden, baby. Yet another quadra to come in.
Red Bull gives you wings.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.